Hey guys! Today I want to show you how to create API service based on Symfony. In this video I will explain how to build simple CRUD application, and I will make a focus on very powerful component, Symfony Forms. I have a new project with Symfony 5. For local development I use Docker, but you can use local server or any other option to run it. As an example, I will demonstrate a simple flow when a customer adds products into his shopping cart. I will start with creating a customer entity. Right-click, New PHP class. Type Customer. We should import Doctrine ORM annotations from Doctrine bundle. And add table annotation and specify table name. I would name it something like app customer. Next, add annotation entity. Customer will contain ID property, email, and phone number. It will be very simple entity. Each property should be properly annotated. I press Option key for multi-input. Specify property type, column name, and column type. ID should be an integer and also must have ID annotation, and I use generated strategy auto. For email I will add a length limitation. Let's say 100 symbols. And phone number will have limitation of 50. Now I generate getters and setters for all properties, but I will remove setter for ID, as I don't want that ID can be set manually. Now I create product entity by copying this entity. I set table name as app product, rename class to product, and I would remove everything except ID. Also I add code, title, and price properties. And again, let's add proper annotations. I strongly recommend to store price in cents as integer, because it will decrease problems with roundings. Let's generate getters and setters and remove setter for ID. Copy product entity into cart. Change table name and of course rename class. Remove everything except ID, and I would add date time when cart was placed, customer, and list of added products. Add annotations. For datetime, Doctrine has special type datetime. Customer is one-to-one relation, as customer will be able to have only one cart. Products, many-to-many relation, and it is a Doctrine's collection. I would also mark it as array of product entities for proper IDE autocomplete. Generate getters and setters. Remove setter for ID. Here I forgot to add a constructor with initialization of products, but you should add it to your code. Now let's create a customer controller. For this, create a new class. Type here CustomerController. It should extend Symfony's abstract controller. Define index action to retrieve list of all customers. This action will require a request. Abstract controller provides access to Doctrine, and from it we can get a customer's repository. Call method findAll to fetch all entities from database. Action should return a JSON with customers. If you also use new PHP 7.4, I would recommend to add return types. Now define createAction and also pass a request. It will be empty for now and will return just some dummy string. For now we are done with this controller. Previously we have fully configured entities, but now we should save them into database. In order to add new tables, we can use Doctrine migration bundle. Run bin console to find this command. New Symfony already has it as part of ORM pack, but if you don't have it, you can install it separately. Let's generate migration and execute it. OK, it is done. Now let's define new endpoints. Select config folder and open routes YAML. First will be a customer list. I like a path API v1 customers. In controller section we should type a path to our customer controller and add a method name. It will be available only via GET requests. Copy this route and paste it. Rename to create, and request method should be post. Also change controller method to createAction. Now we can test new endpoints. For this purpose I use application Postman. Here I write local domain and path to endpoint. OK, it works, but currently there are no customers available. Let's add possibility to create new customers. First we should create folder form with subfolder type. Create new class and name it customer type. It should extend abstract type. Now we should override two methods, build form and configure options. In configure options we should add data class. This is basically a class name which will be created by this form. In this case it is customer class. In build form method we define all properties what should be mapped from request into object. So I will add email, and there is a special FormType email for this. I would also add a constraint not null. It is kind of validation that this field is required. Copy this field and rename to phone number, and change type to text type. Let's go back to CustomerController. There we will add a logic to create a form. For this I would recommend to create abstract API controller. We can just copy CustomerController and rename it. We should also rename a class and make abstract. Remove all methods and define new protected method build form. In order to create a form, we will need a service form factory. We can find it in abstract controller. To create a new form, especially for API requests, we should call method createNamed and pass an empty string as a name. Then should be passed type, data, and options. Now let's specify all these variables as arguments into our method. Another very important step is disabling CSRF protection. CSRF protection is a very cool way to protect submitted data, but unfortunately it doesn't work out of the box with API requests. We should pass an option CSRF protection false into each form which will be used in our API. Okay, jump back to CustomerController. Let's define a variable for customer form, and controller should be extended from our abstract API controller. Now we can call method buildForm and pass CustomerType class into it. Form should process incoming request. Okay, I forgot to specify return type for buildForm. It should be form interface. Yeah, now autocomplete works again. Once request is passed into form, we can validate that at least one field of the form is submitted and data is valid. If not, customer should see an error message. I will leave a comment for now and we will finish this later. If form is valid, we can call getData and we'll have a new customer object with field information from request. And now we can store it to database. For this, call getDoctrine, getManager, persist and pass there a customer entity. Then call getDoctrine, getManager, flush. Okay, I will add print error and exit as a quick solution in case of invalid form. And I will also remove unused class import. Open Postman. I will just duplicate and open tab. Here we should change request method into post. And in headers section we should add content type with value application.json. Switch to body and in drop-down menu select raw. Now we can type here JSON which we want to send to our API endpoint. I will send an empty email and empty phone number. And we can see that we got an error because information which we have sent is not valid. Let's jump into code. First, I don't like error message. I would change it to form is not valid. Yes, much better now. I noticed that createAction doesn't return new customer. Let's fix it. Now I would send correct email and a phone number. But we got error anyway. Why? Because Symfony doesn't see submitted JSON data. The easiest way to solve this issue is to use FOS Rest bundle. This bundle is very popular and is commonly used to build an API. Let's add this bundle to our application. Open a terminal and add dependency to the project using Composer. We need dev version of FOS Rest bundle, as for now there is no stable version for Symfony 5. But maybe when you watch this video they have already released it, so you better check their official repository. Bundle is added and we can now configure it. Go to config folder, packages, and find FOS Rest YAML. Open it and uncomment format listener. One pattern is already defined there and we can keep it. Let's remove HTML from it as our endpoint will work only with JSON. Also we should enable body listener. Now configuration is ready and we can try to create a customer one more time. And now it works. Switch to IDE and open Abstract API controller. Since we use FOS Rest bundle, we can use this also to render response. Define protected method respond. Let's change extendable class to abstract FOS Rest controller. And now let's call a method handleView, which expects to have a class view as an argument. Inside this method, call method view, and we should pass data and status code. Our method will require data and status code as well. Status code by default will be 200 OK. Now we can finally return proper error message if form is invalid. Jump into CustomerController. Call respond and pass form variable into it. Status code will be 400 bad request. Let's replace default JSON method call with respond. Open Postman and let's send empty fields again. Now we can see nice error message with information what field is not valid and why. Now I will send invalid email and valid phone number. And no errors, because we don't validate email that is basically valid email address. But it is very easy to fix. Switch to IDE and open CustomerType class. What we should do is to add another constraint email. That's it. Let's test it. And here we see an error that email is not valid. Okay, now I sent valid email. And everything works. Let's retrieve list of all created customers. We had such a request in a previous tab. There are 3 customers which we have created earlier. Now I want to show you how to change error message for specific validation. Open CustomerType. Each constraint object accepts options into constructor, and we can pass an option message into it with custom error message. Let's try it out. I will send an empty email. And we see our custom error message. Now let's create a form type for product. Simply copy CustomerType class and name it product type. Rename class and change data class to product. Remove phone number field and change email to code. Also change type to text type and remove email validation and custom error message. Copy this field and rename to title. Then again copy it and name price. Set type as integer. Copy CustomerController and name it product controller. Also rename class and change class name inside repository. Rename variable customers into products. And let's replace method JSON with respond. Let's also do the same in CustomerController. Jump back to product controller. Replace customer type with product type. And change annotation from customer to product. Also rename variable customer to product. Let's go to product type. I would add more constraints for field code. Let's check a definition of this property. For this we should open product entity. As we can see, this field has 100 characters limitation. Let's add a validation that code should not be longer than 100. In constraint section, we should create new length object from Symfony validator namespace. And we should specify a limitation. I don't remember by heart all options, so I go to length class and there I see all available options. We need max option with value 100. Let's add the validation also for a price. Jump to entity price definition. It is just integer, so we can add a constraint that price must be higher than 0. For this, create new object greater than and pass an option value as 0. That's it. Open Postman and duplicate the tab where we create a customer. Replace customers with products. Open body section and remove all fields. Add an empty code field, empty title, and price 0. Send request. Okay, we have 404 here. This endpoint doesn't exist. Let's open routes YAML and duplicate all routes. Change names from customer to product. Change path from customers to products, and also change controller. Now we are ready to test. Send request again. Now it works, and we can see all error messages. Let's send some valid data. Good, product is created. Now let's test length validation. For this, we should send really long code. And we can see that this validation works as well. Let's add one more product. Duplicate tab where we fetch list of customers. Replace customers with products. We got a list of all products which we have created earlier. Now we should create a card FormType by copying product type. Rename class and also change data class to card class. Remove unused imports. Also remove all fields. Add the customer field and it will be an entity type. For this kind of type, we should provide an option class and specify what entity it will be. In our case, it is customer entity. Add constraint with not null validation. Duplicate this field and name it products. It will be entity type as well, but in order to process list of products, we should pass an option multiple true. Copy this field and rename it to datetime. And it will be datetime type. Remove class and multiple options. And for datetime type we should specify option widget. I don't remember exactly correct value, but it should be something like a single text. Let's check this out in official documentation. I have already opened a page with Symfony's FormType reference. Navigate to date and time fields and open field datetime type. Here we need an option widget. There is no information available, so we should jump into child's reference. And here also click on widget. Now we can see a description for this option. To render datetime as text, we should use single text. Let's create a controller for card. Copy product controller and rename it into card controller. Rename class. Also we should rename method indexAction into showAction, as there will be no endpoint to retrieve all cards, and customer will see only his one card. Create variable customer ID, which will be an ID retrieved from request. Let's add a check for customer ID. But first I rename products into card. And here we should call find one by and pass customer ID as a customer. If customer ID is not provided, we will throw not found exception. In createAction, we should replace product type class with card type class. Change annotation to card and also rename variable product to card. Now let's define routes for card endpoints. Open routes YAML and duplicate products routes. Rename route names from product to card and change index to show, because this endpoint will return only one entity. Path will be customer's card and route show will have ID for customer. Also we should change method to show action and rename controller to card. We can also add simple validation for customer ID by adding parameter requirements where we should specify regular expression for ID that will allow only digits. Oops, there is a small typo here. Let's switch to Postman and duplicate current tab. Instead of products, type customers/QQQ/cart. I put QQQ as a customer ID. Let's send request. We got 404 root not found, because QQQ doesn't fulfill root requirements. Now I set correct customer ID and we got 200, but no cart data as this customer doesn't have a cart yet. Let's switch back to IDE and open CustomerController. I will add a check if customer doesn't have a cart, not found exception will be thrown with message cart doesn't exist for this customer. And I will add message for previous exception, customer not found. Let's try it out. Now there is better error message, and I would send customer ID which doesn't exist. But in this case error is the same, because there is no check that customer ID belongs to customer in our system. Let's add this check. First we should fetch customer entity by provided ID. Copy line with repository call and pass customer ID as ID. Now we can use this entity instead of customer ID. And we should change cart class to customer class. Now we can test it. This time we got proper error that customer not found. Let's finally create a cart. For this, duplicate tab where we create a product and change path to customers/cart. Open body section and clear data. We should pass a field customer with customer ID, products with list of product IDs. As for now, I will send one product. And we should send date time. Format will be year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds. Send request. And first cart is created. We have here customer data as well as product information and date. Now I will create a cart for another customer with two products. Okay, we got an error with one of the product. Let's retrieve all available products. There are products with ID 1, 3 and 4, but not with 2. I would remove ID 2 and add 3 and 4. Yes, now cart was created. Now we can create an endpoint to delete a cart. Switch to IDE and create method createAction. Add a request and specify a response as return type. Let's create variable cart ID, which will store cart ID from request. Copy repository call to retrieve a cart and paste it. Create variable customer ID for customer's ID from request. Now we can use this information to find the customer's cart. If cart is not found, we should throw not found exception with message cart not found. If cart exists, we can call getDoctrine getManager_remove and pass cart object. And then call flush to commit these changes to database. Let's return empty response on success. Now we should define a root. Jump into root's YAML and duplicate cart create root. Rename it to cart delete. Add customer ID and cart ID into the path. Add requirements and change method from post to delete. In requirements section, add customer ID and cart ID. Change method to deleteAction. Switch to Postman and duplicate a tab. We should change method to delete. Let's specify customer's ID, which we used previously to create a cart, and also cart ID, which was created. Send request. We got 200 and empty string. It's not really a proper response. Let's change it. Open deleteAction and specify null as a result. Send request again. Okay, now we got 404 because card was already removed. We should create a new card to have something to delete. Now we can use new card ID. And this time we have a proper response. Last step is creating an update endpoint. Copy createAction and change name to updateAction. Create customer ID variable to store customer's ID from request. Copy repository call to retrieve a card by customer. Now we can pass existing card object into form. And we also should send explicitly request method. Let's define a new route by copying card create. Rename it to card update. This time we will improve endpoint a little bit. As customer can have only one card, we won't specify card ID, but only customer ID. As method, we can use patch or put. For patch method, we should send only that fields which we want to change. For put, all fields. Let's use patch method. We should add requirements for customer ID and change method to updateAction. Let's test updating a card. First we will create a new customer. And fetch list of products, just to be sure that we use proper IDs. Now create a card for new customer. Okay, it is created and it contains one product. Let's duplicate this tab and set customer's ID in the path. Change method to patch. Open body section and remove customer field and datetime. Replace product ID 1 with 3. Okay, card is updated and now contains new product. I will fetch this card to show that card was saved with new changes. We can also add new product by sending a list of product IDs. And date can be changed as well by sending datetime field with new date. I also want to show a common problem when request method is not specified during update. I will comment this line and send update request. We got an error, so don't forget to pass request method for put or patch. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions, leave them in comment section below. I will be happy to help. Thank you for watching.